Hi, Bill Pfizer here, and we're going to be looking at the topic of rejection. Right? And as we set the platform, as we set the stage for this, I want everyone to understand, first and foremost, is that really there is this part of us that desires to be accepted, that desires and has that need to belong. And the reason that it is there is because it's in our very nature. It's in our very design. God created Adam to be in his likeness and to have communion with him. But the thing is, he also saw that Adam alone, even with all the other things that God had created, was still alone and needed something suitable for him. And that's when he created Eve. And he saw that that was very good. And God even walked with Adam and Eve daily in the garden. And so that communion, that belonging, that being accepted, again, was part of our nature and part of God's design. It was to have communion with him and to have communion with others. But it was also in that order. And the problem is when we get that out of order, now we're actually beginning to open that door of rejection. Because what we're doing is we are looking for that communion first with other people, with other men, with other things. We are now putting the opinion of an imperfect man over God's opinion, over the one who designed us, who created us, and who knows us. And with man, the problem is because we're imperfect, our expectations, our desires, our wants are going to change, and they do change. I'm sure even as I'm talking about this, you can think of a time very quickly when you did something that was acceptable and pleasing to someone, and you thought, now I know how to make them happy. And then you find yourself doing that exact same thing later, and it's not met with the same enthusiasm. And in some cases, it may have made them mad and left you confused. And the problem is that it's that imperfect man. It's that looking for happiness, and that emotion changes. It's fleeting. And so we can't put the basis of who we are, and we can't even put the basis of our happiness on other things, on anything that based off of our emotions, because our feelings and emotions can change. And so what happens now as we fail to meet that person's expectation, that man's expectation, it now begins to confuse us. It changes how we begin to perceive everything around us, and it can affect every part of our lives. Kind of an example that I like to give is have you ever had a real sunny day? It was a bright day, and so you put your sunglasses on and you're driving down the road or you're walking around, and all of a sudden things just seem like it's getting a little darker and a little dimmer, and you're looking at your watch and you're saying, oh my, it shouldn't be getting this dark at this hour. Is there a storm coming or what's going on? And then you realize, I left my sunglasses on. And then you go and you take them off, and all of a sudden everything gets brighter. So as we look at rejection, that's why I like to call this looking through the lenses of rejection, is because that is what rejection does. Rejection, it impacts our perception and the way we see everything. It shapes our mindset. It shapes our spirit and how we're seeing everything and perceiving everything, just like we have those dark sunglasses on. And see, what happens is when we're wearing that lens of rejection and we're looking to meet the expectations of others, and we fail to meet that expectation, what those lenses do and what that rejection does is begin to shape your thoughts, and it begins you to believe for you to determine that you're not good enough to be accepted or to be loved as you are. And when that happens, and that rejection and that dialogue begins to say is you're the one who needs to change, that there's something wrong with you and you need to change. And so as we even begin to look in this, some of the things that we're even going to look at is who made me feel that way? Why did it make me feel that way? What happened? What was going on that caused that lens to come on me for my perception to change? And see, when we begin to believe that we're not good enough, that there's something wrong with us, and then we need to change, we then can begin to strive to be good enough, to be accepted. And the problem is rejection just doesn't target one area of our lives. Okay, it can be with everything. It can be with family. It can be with work. It can be with friends, and it can even be with God. And the problem is when you feel like you're not good enough, that you need to change, that you need to be different. Now you're no longer being true to yourself. You're not being your true self. You're not being the one that God created you to be. What that lens is really doing is it's saying that you need to become who you think you should be in order to be accepted, or you need to become what you think others want you to be. Again, you're putting that into the opinions of others. And so now what happens is you're beginning to change as you're trying to become what you think you need to be or what you think they think you need to be. That gets confusing, doesn't it? Okay. You begin to lose your identity and you begin to lose your peace. And then you can find yourself running into confrontation, or you'll find yourself falling short yet again. And so now what that lens of rejection says is that it's your fault. You still aren't getting it. You're still not good enough. Even though you're working hard, you're not good enough. It's your fault. And that can open the door then to that hopelessness, to that anxiety, because what am I going to do? Because I'm trying to fulfill that desire for acceptance. So what I want to do here now as we pursue that even more, I want to take a look at some of the typical reactions that we see happen when people are operating under that lens of rejection. And we'll see if you identify with any of these, all of these. They're quite common, so this is something to consider, something to look at if you find this describing you. So really, first of all, as you're thinking that it's you that needs to change, that you're not good enough, okay, you begin to look for ways to change yourself into what you think other people want you to be. And so what happens there is you don't share your thoughts or desires, because if I do, I may be rejected. You won't make decisions, or you don't make decisions for fear of making a mistake. If I mess that up, they're going to reject me. And again, now you're not being your true self. You're not operating out of your giftings. You're not operating out of who you are. And you end up being disappointed again because you still aren't good enough. In some cases, then you may find yourself engaging in activities because you're looking for that sense of belonging, or you're looking for that feeling special. And so you're engaging in those activities that you typically wouldn't engage in, or really aren't necessarily all that appealing or interesting to you. But again, I'm looking for that feeling. This is where we often see people with the drugs, with the alcohol, and very much so even with the pornography, that wanting or that need to feel special, to feel belonged, to feel like you belong, that you are at least special to someone. Or Again, you engage in activities because you're wanting to escape the feelings of not being good enough, of not being wanted. It becomes a form of escapism where I'm shutting down, and that's mind control. And the thing is, again, those activities end up driving us further away from God. And it opens again that door to hopelessness and to anxiety because we're still not getting that fulfillment within us. And then what happens is that progresses more that you begin to harden your heart and you find yourself pushing people away, keeping them at a distance so that when they reject you, it won't hurt so bad. And so what happens is they end up rejecting you because they never get to connect with the real you. They don't get to know the real you. It's not genuine, and they know that. And so there isn't a connection. And guess what happens? You're rejected. You fulfill that expectation of rejection, and it hurts. It still hurts because you knew it was coming, yet in many ways you were the one that fulfilled it. And it doesn't change the hurt. And so what happens is you harden your heart more. You lose your peace because you've lost your identity. You've lost your anchor. You've lost who you are.